Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Cody the Coin Raptor coming at you with another Bitcoin video. And in this video, I want to go ahead and talk about the progression of Bitcoin spot ETFs and the incredible amount of Bitcoin that they've been able to gather just in a span of about 3 months. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X. So, Bitcoin. First, we're starting off with something that Larry Fink said of BlackRock. He said that he's pleasantly surprised by retail demand. Okay, pleasantly surprised. And I'm going to talk about how much spot ETFs have accumulated Bitcoin over the last 3 months, but BlackRock alone has accumulated 252,000 Bitcoin with a value of $18 billion. Now, this is not surprising to anybody who's been following the market for some time. Bitcoin has been a hot commodity, and people are definitely interested in buying Bitcoin. And now, with the adoption of the Bitcoin spot ETF, it's become even easier in order to get that Bitcoin, not to mention the fact that they don't have to actually custody it themselves. So the fact that he's pleasantly surprised, I think, shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who's paying attention to the to Bitcoin in general, because Bitcoin is a popular asset, and many people are using it as a store of value and as a safe haven for their own money. So, if we take a look at the Bitcoin spot ETFs, we can see that they've actually accumulated 835,000 Bitcoin over the last 3 months. So if we go down here to Apollo, go all the way down to the daily ETF inflows for Bitcoin, we can see that over, I'd say, about 3 or 4 days last week, we saw a large amount of outflows, but it's kind of come all the way back in here in the last week. We've seen significant inflows to these Bitcoin spot ETFs, and now we're actually seeing it to the point where it's at about 215,000 total Bitcoin flow into these ETFs. So this is 215,000 Bitcoin worth of demand that we've seen so far, and it's actually impacted the price greatly over the last 3 months. In fact, if we bring up our daily chart here of Bitcoin, you can see that we can go all the way back to January, when Bitcoin was kind of stuck sideways in between about $43,000 and about $41,000. And as soon as that spot ETF approval happens, we saw just nothing but just straight up for Bitcoin, going all the way up to about 73,000 or so. Now, Bitcoin is still kind of stuck between these two levels right here. We have hardcore support down here at 64,000 and another level here at about 62,000. And we have pretty heavy resistance here at 70,000, and then the ultimate resistance up here at about 73,800 or 70,600. So Bitcoin's kind of stuck between these two levels. However, there is still a lot of room left to run for Bitcoin. We've seen here that the daily RSI is only at 58 now. As a reminder, that usually goes up to 70 when it's considered overbought. Bitcoin is nowhere near 70 right now. And so what we're looking at is a potential upside, I think, of even greater than $74,000 in the near term. Now, I also want to go ahead and talk about where Bitcoin is at during its market cycle. And one of the ways that I like to visualize this is looking at this Wall Street cheat sheet psychology of a market cycle, okay? And this kind of works for any asset that has a value that trades on a market. And you can see here that I've talked about this, I don't know, maybe about 6 months ago, but I want to give an update on where I think we are currently in the psychology here of this market cycle. And so previously, I think we were at like depression, disbelief. Now, I actually think that we're up to, at the very least, optimism. Okay, so optimism, this rally is real, or at the very least, belief, I think. Time to get fully invested. And I think that shows that we still have significant upside, the thrill and the euphoria stage, before we actually go sideways, drop off a little bit, hit complacency, anxiety, denial, and panic and capitulation. So I think we're kind of at the beginning part of this bull market. And if we take a look at the Bitcoin charts and we actually back out and take a look at the monthly Bitcoin charts here, we can see that previously Bitcoin has had a very nice run up, and it looks actually very similar to what we've seen if you overlay the market cycles to the Bitcoin charts, you can actually see the point where it kind of moves up here, moves up, and then there's still significant room left to run after it surpasses its previous all-time high, which I've shown here in this blue line. There's significant room left to run up before it hits the top. Okay, so you can kind of see, you overlay these together, it kind of makes some sense here. And I've previously put out that I think maybe 200,000 could be the top for this year, but we'll have to see how things go, especially heading into the halving, which is going to be happening in less than a month. Now, additionally, what Mike Novogratz, or billionaire Mike Novogratz, has been saying about Bitcoin is that it's tapping into an $84 trillion market. And the reason why he's saying this, he's from Galaxy Digital chief executive. The reason why he's saying this is because the Bitcoin spot ETFs allow people to buy Bitcoin that normally wouldn't be able to, or don't understand it, or don't want to custody it. So he's basically saying that there's $84 trillion worth of wealth owned by U.S. baby boomers, and they could be potentially tapping into that wealth owned by these baby boomers, maybe as a substitute to gold. But he's saying basically I think this is like at a moon level, looking at $84 trillion worth of wealth that could be tapped into by Bitcoin demand. And listen, it doesn't even need to be $84 trillion. I showed you just what this 200,000 Bitcoin worth of demand does to the price. You don't need to be anywhere near 84 trillion in order to understand that the price is going to go ballistic if it taps into just an absolute fraction of this $84 trillion. Okay, so at a high level, I think that that's probably the ceiling, $84 trillion, but I don't think that we're actually going to be tapping into that totality of that $84 trillion. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin options. So Bitcoin options have been they've been all over the place, all right? But I want to draw your attention to the expiry of options on the 26th of April. Now, most of the call options say that Bitcoin's actually going to be at about $70,000 by the time April is finished, or close to being finished. And so really, what's strange about this is traders kind of expect that Bitcoin will mostly be going sideways, considering we're at 70,000 right now. The expectation is that Bitcoin will continue to move basically sideways for an entire month. So just keep that in mind. If we take a look at the put call option spread here, we can see that there are about $2 billion worth of the Bitcoin put options expiring on the 26th, and about $3 billion worth of call options expiring at the 26th of April. So I'm personally a little surprised to learn that these traders mostly think, even with the call options, that Bitcoin is just going to be going relatively sideways for an entire month. And I honestly don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll have to see where things lie at the end of the month. So that's all I've got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about Bitcoin being able to tap into that $84 trillion worth of market demand, if you think that's possible, or maybe Bitcoin can get a fraction of that. Leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.